What's up, dog? Yeah, what's up, technology? You need your fucking laptop rebooted? I'm the guy. You got your passwords from a crypto account? Nope. I don't know how to do that, but hey, I'm the guy you talk to when the internet's down. You can say, hey, unplug it for 30 seconds.
And on that note, hello, ladies and gentlemen, to the second episode of Cats with Tin Hats. You're listening to Oliver.
Wyatt.
And Tucker.
And today we're talking about Zodiac and the Zodiac Killer. Now, before we get into spoilers about the movie, I'd just like to open up the floor. General impressions, what do you guys think?
Tucker, you can go first.
I think this movie it's well done, it's well acted, there isn't a false note again. And I think this is really where you can see the groundwork for Mindhunter really being laid down. We were watching it, we ended up watching it again today.
Yeah.
And there's...
The scene with, John Carl Lynch? With Arthur Lee Allen, right? When he told me, he was just like, when you watch this, you might see the Manhunter scene, or something that, when you see it, it's like, oh, that's Mindhunter, and...
Yeah, for a solid minute, we thought he was in Mindhunter it was
he
eerily
played it
similar.
so perfectly. Yeah, it was exactly. Yeah, it's crazy.
It's like the same time period around there in the 70s, right? They're driving around in the same cars, and it looks the same. The color grading's almost to me, it looks identical. But this, to me, the writing in it, especially, like watching it a second time. Seeing the setup and payoff of a lot of these lines, it's well thought out, and somebody paid a lot of attention to the crime reports and the documentaries that came out and all the stuff there. I think it's well done.
Just like to point out, Zodiac is directed by David Fincher, written by James Vanderbilt, based off the book of Robert Graysmith, who is the Jake Gyllenhaal's character in the movie, also starring alongside Mark Ruffalo and Robert Downey Jr. as the main players in this film.
It's practically pre-Avengers, guys.
Yeah, pretty much.
We got Mysterio, we got Hulk and Iron Man.
Honestly, because it's 2007. This is a year before Iron Man.
Yeah.
Is this his first movie back after the
drugs
and rehab and
let me
arrests?
Find out about that.
Because I was wondering if this is the first one. Because
I thought it was always Iron Man was the first one, so you might be right. It might be this one. Which hell it does. It's
fucking the last couple scenes in this movie.
I think because everything's pretty close together. There's no major gaps I'm seeing. Because you got Kiss Kiss Bang Bang,
which was when?
Which was 2000.
I think he was done in
2005 was Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. Zodiac was 2007.
Something wants to make me think that it's 2003.
Was
when he got arrested. Stayed for 2000. Something happened there where he wasn't in. Maybe 2004. Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. 2005. You said?
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe. Shit, I don't know.
Robert, if you're watching this, let us know.
Come on the podcast.
Robert's like, I'm just dying to talk about that.
Don't worry. Did we know Marvel talk? It'll just be about everything else.
Wait, he was in The Nice Guys?
I haven't seen that movie. Is it good?
Oh, it's so good.
All right.
What's
I'm going to have to watch it.
Yeah, it's about the porn industry and...
Isn't it like...
detectives.
Yeah, two cops, right? It's...
two private investigators. It's...
Gosling?
Yeah, Ryan Gosling and... Oh, but Russell Crowe.
Yeah. Okay, I wanted to say him, but I'm like, I don't know if frickin' Javert is the guy.
But yeah, this might have been his first comeback after.
Might have like Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. Shit, man. Maybe I should fucking. I'm just gonna research it real quick.
Okay.
What do you think about the movie?
I loved it. Again, I rewatched it again today, but I played it at 1.5 speed.
Yeah.
Which does get over one of my biggest complaints with the movie, which isn't a bad thing. This is intentionally created to be like this. It's slow.
Yeah.
The movie is very slow, and it's intentionally slow.
Yeah.
Mainly to resemble the Zodiac case itself, where it just dragged on and on and on. And you can see the same thing in Dark Waters, another film starring Mark Ruffalo about the Teflon situation that was going on, where Teflon caused cancer in different varieties. I haven't seen that film in a while. I haven't read up on that thing, so I'm not going to go into it. But let's talk about Ted Cruz and the Zodiac Killer. Let's get into the movie and the facts about it. I'd just like to point out that there was no Academy nominations for this movie. It won lots of small-time awards, but no Academy recognition.
Really?
They could have gotten at least a nomination for best screenplay or something.
Yeah, but sadly nothing like that. Even cinematography or directing.
Yeah, cinematography was really good.
None of that. Which is.
I think when you were saying the one scene when Robert Graysmith goes and visits Paul Avery in his shack, and there's he's sitting there Robert Downey Jr.'s character Paul Avery there, he's sitting in his couch and you get the sun hitting him and it's
it's wild.
It's such a very cool shot, and it's probably very simple to get, but it's I don't know, something about just how he was lit up and then Jake was all dark. And
you know what should get a nomination? What should have got a nomination? The frickin' makeup, dude. You're making it in 2007, and you have to cover when did this start? 69. You have to cover 69.
All to the 70s.
All the way through the 70s. To 80 to 91.
90, yeah.
The last scene's 91, right? You have to
the Ontario Airport.
Imagine you have to cover 69 into the 70s and catch every single fashion choice, everything in that decade that has changed. It's like you almost have to if you did 2012, you'd have to have kids walking around with freaking Neff hats on. You know what I mean? Remember when we were in school? And then the little changes that happened to get to 2020.
Yeah.
Something should have happened with the old age, aged up when Robert Downey Jr. opens up the door and looks like hell.
And then later on when he's in the bar, where he's watching the...
It was a library kid or whatever he says.
Yeah. Fucking library.
Yeah.
All I could think of was fucking Lieutenant Dan. Is that bad? That's all I could think of. I'm he's fucking Lieutenant Dan.
Yeah. No, I think one of my favorite things about this film is it embraces one of the scariest things about the Zodiac killings, which was it was probably one of the biggest puzzles created by a serial killer. And that's what this movie is. It's a puzzle. Yeah, it's really still not confirmed.
And I think the craziest part about the puzzle is it wasn't it was also, you see in the movie, it was also everybody around creating it into more of a puzzle with false claims and some people wanting the fame and the accolades of being a serial killer, which I don't get that, but I mean it ended up being a complete and utter mess, right?
Because what was the first woman who said that she was a Zodiac killer?
Oh my god. Yeah, she said that she says, I'm the Zodiac Killer. Oh, really? How did you kill people? With a gun. Wait, no. It's
a hammer.
A hammer. Yeah. I was like... And Goose from Top Gun is interrogating her.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my gosh. It's Goose and the Hulk having a discussion at the crime scene. Let's go eat animal crackers.
Back on the cinematography, one of the coolest shots in this entire movie, which I can't remember where I've seen it replicated, but I've seen it replicated everywhere. The taxi shot, where it's bird's eye view as it's tracking through the last turn before he kills the guy.
Yeah.
It's... Somehow he made GTA eerie.
That's what I thought, too, when I saw that.
You got the classic GTA camera style, which is top down. It's oh, okay, cool. But the way it's just... I don't know what it is about the slow tracking.
Yeah.
And then you're following the turn, and it draws you, and you're oh, where's this going to go? Where's this going to end up? To the final destination. It's he's dead.
Yeah.
Which I think Nerdwriter1, a YouTuber who I highly recommend, did a whole video on David Fincher and how he films his movies. And the one thing that makes it so engaging is he follows every single minute detail of the human body. Which means if you nod your head, the camera nods with you. if you do a slight turn, the camera turns with you, just to immerse you even more into the movie. And rewatching any
Griffin, maybe we should go tell him, eh?
I'll go tell him. I'll be back.
Okay.
You guys keep them going.
Okay. And even rewatching this, knowing that Fincher does these camera movements and why it takes it like for 100 takes to get one shot. It just really pulls you in, especially with a film like this. It just draws you right into the situation, into what every character's thinking, what every person is going to do. You're there with it because it's making you do those movements too.
And I find that it highlights the movement more. Like for a scene, like I know we don't want to spoil anything, but the scene where Arthur Lee Allen is the Mindhunter-esque scene that we were talking about earlier. Yeah. It's like he's sitting there, and all you're attracted to while he's talking is all he wants to do is cover that watch. Yeah. He wants to touch it. He wants to cover it. He wants to pull it to his side, and it's just highlighted. And it's great acting work by, what was his name again?
John Carroll Lynch.
It's great. It's great character work by him, but also, like you were saying, it's also behind the scenes with directing it, with getting those movements in. It totally takes your eyes straight to it.
Yeah. Like, he clearly shows you everything you need to see.
Yeah.
Even though he's hiding it in plain sight. It's not obvious what he's doing unless you know what he's doing, because all of those minor movements are completely invisible whenever you first watch it.
It's just like, I don't know if it's gonna really, I don't think it really ruins it, but the scene with him, right, when it's like, are you the Zodiac Killer? And it was like, if I was, I wouldn't tell you. It's like, that's like a giant fuck you to that.
Yeah.
Right? You know what I mean? Like, it was just like such a, like, it was just like he made it sound like, oh, you, right?
And then he stands up and as he's putting the watch back on his wrist, looks at them and goes, I really can't wait for the day. Of course, I'm paraphrasing. I can't wait for the day that cops aren't called pigs. And I'm like, and before it in the letter, it's talking about something pig, something wouldn't you like to know pig, and it's like, wait, are you calling back to that letter that you sent Arthur Lee Allen that we don't know for sure because
he's dead.
He died.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say we can get into spoilers now.
All right,
it came out in 2007. You can.
Yeah, if you haven't seen it now, I haven't seen it until today, but.
I mean, if you want to watch it based on what we said, go watch the movie, come back to the podcast listening. If you don't really care and you just want to listen along, that's also fine. One thing I do want to highlight about this movie is, to me, it felt more like a documentary.
Oh, really?
Because of how it wasn't fanatical. There was nothing making this movie feel extreme. There was nothing making this movie feel glorified in anything. It was a play-by-play on all the events that happened. And even looking into it, there was very little fabrication in this movie. So watching it, I wasn't going, oh, this is so exciting. I'm like, oh, this is fucked.
Yeah, honestly. I see what you're saying now, because there's only one real scene where I kind of got excited a little bit. And it was like, oh, right? But I know what you're saying, because it's almost like we were saying, it's that slow burn and nothing is left out. It gives you the date of when a letter was received and then tells you I think one title card is a week later. Like, they literally, some of these years, they go like 4-week chunks because there was just so much stuff. It's like, it's completely different from like that Zac Efron movie. You know what I mean? Where it was like jumping time.
The Bundy one?
Yeah.
Completely horrible, something.
Extremely
like
wicked or something. It was just like a completely different thing, where this one seemed like everything was nailed down and all the stuff. Not that the Ted Bundy one, they didn't do it. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that this one seemed like they wanted to show everything, and they didn't care about the runtime instead of like, the Ted Bundy one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Was this one also, you have every lead, whether it was Arthur Lee Allen, whether it was the other guy, I can't remember his name.
The other guy. Oh, what's the other guy's name?
Which guy?
The copycat.
Oh.
The guy in the car.
The guy in the car. Oh, he wasn't in that. I don't think they ever named him like Rick Marshall, but we never see him.
But it's like, it never goes to, this is the guy, we got the guy. It's like, we think this is a guy. Have you got enough evidence? I don't know. Let's go get some evidence. We think this is a guy. What evidence do you have? This is not enough. Okay, let's go back. And it's that constantly throughout this movie. It does get frustrating after a bit, but again, that's what they were dealing with. That's how they were feeling about it too. And it's just...
Oh, yeah.
It's when that scene with Dermot Mulroney, he comes out and he's like, after they just found out, I'm going to short form it to Lee, who they think is the prime suspect for the Zodiac.
Yeah.
They find out he's ambidextrous, and now they're going to go and they got both. And, oh my God, it's going to be him. And then Dermot Mulroney comes out and pretty much bitch slaps the theory, and he's like, no, ballistics failed. All this stuff that they got in that raid, and then Ruffalo loses it, grabs his coat, and the chair goes flying, and then they have that conversation. She's like, what, do you want time off? In that scene, I'm like, no, dude, I'm with you. I'm fucking livid right now. Like, come on, we all know.
Because that was what, like, after, I was probably about 4 or 5, no, I was like 6 years, I think, being on the case.
Yeah.
Right, and then finally, I think we got the guy, and then it'd be like, no, we don't. And then just like, like all that work gone.
And there's 2 lines that really stuck with me. I had to write a note down. Ruffalo says in, like, this is later on, he says in a scene where they're in the diner, he says, fingerprints and handwriting, that's where this case lies. And that's what he was saying. And then also there's a scene where Gyllenhaal comes again to him after he gets kicked off a homicide. After Ruffalo gets kicked off homicide, and he says, he's looking in... Gyllenhaal's looking into the Zodiac, and he's getting more into it, wanting to write a book, and he goes and meets Ruffalo out front there. He's like, too much time has passed. People get old, they forget. You know what I mean? Evidence gets lost.
Yeah.
Like, it was my job, and we couldn't find him. What makes you think you can find him? Yeah. And it just really brought to me, like we were saying, it started in 1969.
Yeah.
They finally got the most evidence they could get in 1991. Like,
wasn't that when Buddy finally...
Michael Mageau. Yeah. When, I think I'm pronouncing his name right. I apologize if I get it wrong, but he came in Ontario, California, and drew him out in the pictures. I mean, you think, with this podcast talking about conspiracy theories, a lot of this stuff that we're talking about, the generations where this happened, to the people that were around during this time, around the people where a lot of these conspiracy theories lie, half of them will never ever be found if there was any truth in them, because a lot of the people around the conspiracy theory have passed away, or other stuff has happened. Evidence has been lost and all that stuff. But hey, I guess that's just time. Like RDJ says, this is the daily business, like, as in today.
Yeah.
I'm seeing it. But yeah, it's enough of me talking. You guys talk.
I guess on your point of, like, conspiracy and conspiracy theory, again, it feels so heartbreaking that the story of the Zodiac Killer has to be aligned in that category. We're like 80% sure that it was Arthur Lee Allen. All the evidence points to him, but because of his death from a heart attack just before he was going to go in for questioning about the murders, this will never be a concrete case. This will always be subject to theory and speculation. There is never going to be 100% answer to this mystery. And it's so infuriating. 5 murders, 37 alleged murders.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Never going to be solved.
and there's new theories every day.
Yeah.
I think there's been 15 people who have come out and tried to claim that their dad was the Zodiac Killer since the first murder where the second letter that he says this is the Zodiac speaking. Like,
when he first confirmed, when he first calls himself the Zodiac.
Ever since then, I'm pretty sure there's been multiple people trying to say, "Oh, my dad was the Zodiac," and every time every time they do, the evidence comes back negative.
Yeah.
You know, it's never been conclusive. But also, even with a lot of the suspects, it's non-conclusive. It's like, but I mean, whatever. Do we want to start from the top of the movie and just run through?
Sure.
Yeah, there's no point on.
This movie took me like 4.5 hours to get through. Just pausing, writing notes, and half of them are just worthless notes. Just for me. Well, yeah.
I think before we get into like the very beginning, it is worth noting that all the murders depicted in this movie are based 100% off of the written testimony of the victims. Nothing was glorified in them. Nothing was expanded upon. This is a play-by-play exactly how they were said. That being said, over to you.
Yeah, the first scene in this movie, it is. I was listening to other podcasts and stuff about the Zodiac, and it is. They talk about he gets in the car, and Darlene Ferrin says to Michael, "Hey, why are you wearing so many layers? So hot." Like it was honestly said in the case. Like he wore a lot of clothes. They said it was because he was a little
skinny, right?
Yeah, he was a little skinny and he was a little self-conscious about that, so he wanted to make himself look a bit more like broad and filled out, so he used to wear the layers and whatever. But I just want to point out with this first scene, like, this scene terrifies me.
Yeah.
Like, I'll drive at night and I'm scared of like dark patches of the road. Like last night I was listening to podcasts, like Wyatt and I were driving around listening to the podcast.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to stop anywhere because I had to pee. And I'm like, dude, I gotta pee. So we end up like stopping somewhere. It's dark and I am terrified because of that scene. Like it was just a testament to the well filmmaking. But the one thing that I noticed, he's driving a 60s Ford Mustang, like the killer. And there's like in this first scene, there's a Mustang the killer's driving. In the next cut, where Gyllenhaal's going to work, there's a Mustang behind him driving. There's a Mustang parked on the street. The mail truck comes along, and there's a Mustang there. And then the mail truck comes and stops, and there's a Mustang right there. And I'm like, okay, hold on. Is this the same car? And it's like the Zodiac following the mail to see? Like, is that like a little thing they threw in there? Because I'm like, that's kind of cool.
Because how popular of a car was that back in the
I think it was pretty
70s?
popular. I have here, I'm like, Mustang is the car the killer used? Ford ad, ? Mustangs everywhere? Mail scene? Like, I don't know if I'm just like... I think it was a pretty popular car back then. But
And also on most cop procedurals today sponsored in some way by Ford, like every single one of them has a Ford somewhere in there.
yeah, honestly. Like, I think even Ruffalo and... you know what? I'm just gonna call him frickin' Ruffalo and Goose. What's that guy's name?
It's not Anthony Edwards, is it? Or is
Anthony Edwards.
Inspector William Armstrong.
So Ruffalo and Edwards are driving in a Ford Galaxy too. Like it's just Fords everywhere. But I don't know, right?
So like I just kind of looked up like how popular were they, and at least like this is 64 to 65, but. Well, the Mustang was heavily advertised in the early days. Ford still only expected to sell around 100,000 units a year. That was quickly blown away. However, when the 22,000 Mustang orders were taken on the first day alone, by the end of the first year, a total of 418,812 Mustangs were sold. So it was, a very popular car.
Wow.
So you know what? Maybe it isn't the Zodiac. Maybe it's just like...
But still, you like... It is not. It's kind of a cool thing. It's like, you never know.
And if it's that many cars, it's a hiding in plain sight scenario.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And I'm like, am I doing like a room 237 on it where I'm looking in a little too hard? You know, like that doc where it's like, hey, guess what? The buckets behind Jack Nicholson mean that this movie's about, I don't know, whatever. And it's like, okay, well, maybe they're just there.
Yeah. Well, for those who don't know, Room 237, care to elaborate a little bit more on it?
It's Room 237 is pretty much a documentary following the conspiracy theories and the thoughts of The Shining, and Stanley Kubrick is like a genius when it comes to filmmaking. He started off being a photographer, and they think that since he started with a single frame, he's able to stage shots in a way that mean more to the audience, but only if you watch it in certain ways and you catch what, like, certain pictures on the wall and what they mean, and there's through lines, and it goes into talking about the second world. They go in and they pretty much go along with different people and what their different beliefs are. They think that, one guy thinks that it's for the Second World War because he's using a German typewriter and the Summer of 42's playing, and you see Danny with the number 42 on a sweater. There's just, it's a bunch of things where you're like, oh, or Stanley Kubrick directed the moon landing and, Danny's wearing the Apollo. It's a really, it's kind of a cool watch, but sometimes it's a little far-fetched, but it's a good watch. It's okay. If you like The Shining, then might as well watch it.
I feel like that's one we're eventually going to watch.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I'm down.
Yeah, back on track with the Ford Mustangs.
Yeah. The one thing that I really liked about this movie, like we were saying, there's no detail spared. It's like the credits at the beginning. Like, it's the credit, like, directed by David Fincher. And then it's like Zodiac symbols. Like, it's dissolving into Zodiac. Yeah. I'm like, wow, even the credits are creative on this.
Honestly.
It's insane.
I feel like it's also a dying art, though.
Yeah.
Credits in movies, they've gone from very fantastical, form-fitting to just slap a name, done, next name, done, we'll get over and done with.
Yeah. Because there was a time where it was hand-drawn. Like, you watch any of those, like, old horror movies back in the day, like
Psycho and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah. It's all hand-drawn. It's insane. But so when they get the first letter with the cipher, it's split into three. So it goes to the Vallejo Times, right?
August 1st, San Francisco Examiner.
Because he works...
Yeah, so the Vallejo Times, yeah. So the Examiner, Chronicle, and the Vallejo Times it goes to.
Yeah, so those three all got pieces of the cipher.
Yeah.
And I guess...
Or it says hold on. It says, each received identical handwritten letter in an envelope without a return address, beginning, Dear Editor, I am the killer of the two teenagers last Christmas at Luke Herman. The letters contain details from the Zodiac Killer's murders that only the killer and the cops would know. And he basically said, print this on the front in the newspaper it was that evening's newspaper, or I'm gonna kill again.
So
but there was a 3-part cipher that they had to claim.
Yeah,
the note was the same, but you were. Yeah,
it was like sent to 3, but the murder that he was talking about at Christmas was David Faraday and Betty Jensen. You don't see it in the movie because we start off with the second one.
Right.
Yeah, because the first murder was 68, right?
68, yeah. Like December 68.
I think was it December 20th? Or no, that was the first one. Or the second one, right?
No. The second one.
Oh, it is December 20th, 1968. Yeah, 17-year-old David Faraday and his 16-year-old girlfriend Betty Lou Jensen were shot to death. Yeah, they were shot to death, and then 69, July 4th. Yeah, July 5th, 69, yeah. Yeah, like early morning-ish, right? It was, early in the morning, doesn't say, but, it says early in the morning on July 5th, Darlene Farron.
Yeah,
And
Darlene
then
Farron.
and then H22 and her boyfriend, Mike
Majot.
Majot, or I probably completely screwed that up, and I apologize. Age of 19, we're sitting in the park, remotely in the Valajo location, where then he came behind him and they thought it was a cop. Get your IDs out, and then that's when she shot him.
Yeah.
Sorry, go on.
But so the letter comes in, and the scene where they're all sitting, it looks like it's the situation room.
Yeah.
And they're all like
Trying to decipher it, right?
yeah, they're trying to they're like
But the FBI is it the FBI's?
yeah, like and then Central Intelligence,
Yeah.
it's sent in like 6 hours, 10 hours, 12 hours, and then it cuts to a history teacher and his wife
in
at
California
breakfast.
and breakfast. Do you want to try a crack at this?
Yeah, and she's like, yeah, why not?
Sometimes you just like a good puzzle.
Yeah, and they wind up like
Cracking it.
cracking the biggest part of this this whole case. Really, they cracked it open, and Jake Gyllenhaal's character, you see, he's like a cartoonist, but you see right from the get-go the interest to getting it. You know what I mean? Like, you can see it. He jots down the Zodiac letter. Yeah. He's trying to get it done, and you can see right from the get-go, you're like, that he's interested in it and he wants to figure out who it is. And then so, then we meet RDJ, who he's
Pretty good.
He's pretty good in this movie. I think with this character, I want to do a little more research into the actual person.
Paul Avery?
Yeah, and just see what a time to be alive in the 70s, to be a reporter just like on the, you know what I mean? Like, it's a little wild, but anyway, so then we got the second letter where the names come in, and this is where Robert Graysmith cracked the
name. No.
The Most Dangerous Game.
Yeah.
The movie in 1932 was an RKO movie, and it was like a book that Arthur Lee Allen read in high school, and it was his favorite book, apparently. So then we get into the second murder, which happened in September, September 27th, 1969, in Napa, California, at Lake Baradessa, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah, Lake Baradessa.
And so
Baradessa or something like that.
It was two,
it was a young couple, Cecilia Shepard and Brian Hartnell.
And we get there, and this is the eye account of Brian.
Yeah.
This is where we get the illustration for the Zodiac Killer. This is the infamous illustration, one of the infamous illustrations with the executioner style hood
and the symbol on the chest, right?
Yeah. And this is where, because they end up getting tied up and getting stabbed. Brian actually lived to tell the tale. This is the second time the Zodiac has killed the woman, and the man has stayed alive.
It was just weird, think of just reading it here, and even in the movie it has it, right, where he stabs them, kills unfortunately Cecilia Shepard, died, but thank God, Brian Hartnell, he was lucky enough to survive. But the fact that after he did that, this act of horror, he I think it's, hold on, let me double check. Then he goes and goes to their car door and leaves a note for the cops saying what he did, which is, I just fucking fucked.
Yeah, and it was a Carmagia. It's the same car that Andy drives in Pretty in Pink.
Oh.
Yeah, it's the same kind of cars that Molly Ringwald drives.
Oh yeah.
I only know because my mom loves that movie, and she always wanted to Carmagia after watching that movie.
Oh, fair enough.
And that's a good movie. I don't know what conspiracy theory we're going to do, but let's watch that movie.
Like the Zodiac Killer. It was Molly Ringwald.
Molly Ringwald in the Zodiac.
Oh, actually, I didn't know. So,
fuck Ted Cruz. It's Molly Ringwald.
Ted Cruz, the politician?
Nah, dog. But, I never, in the movie, you see him sketching that picture out.
Yeah.
You see him sketching out the...
Was that made? Was that drawn by
Robert
Graysmith, yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah. So after this murder...
2 weeks later, on October 11th, he kills the taxi driver.
Paul Stein,
Paul
right?
Stein, yeah. In San Francisco.
We were talking about that cab scene. The eeriest part of it is, when you think about it, he hops in that cab, sits in the back, and listens to the radio talk about him the entire drive.
Yeah.
About how, like, they get in, like, arguments where it's like, oh, well, you know, they're only killing the hippies and whatever. And then some guy calls it, he's like, that really offends me and all this stuff and whatever, right? And so then this is where Mark Ruffalo and Anthony Edwards are introduced to a phenomenal scene, as far as I'm concerned, when they're breaking down the crime scene.
Yeah.
Seeing how that works and how you go for like a play-by-play, going through every scenario that could happen.
I love it when he's like, well, why would you get in the front? Because I'm an idiot. But no, you're not an idiot because you waited for him to put it in park because you didn't want him to squeal his tires and go forward. It's like the intelligence level and not only the writing but the actual people in that. You know what I mean? Like the actual two detectives. Yeah. I think his name's Tochsky, and I don't know who Anthony Edwards played. Bill something.
So Anthony Edwards plays Inspector William Armstrong, and then Mark Ruffalo plays David Tochsky.
Tochsky. So the intelligence between those two guys and the writing to write it down, it's wild to me. That scene's actually really well done.
Oh yeah, and especially like when you were saying too, like, you know, like, why do you get in the front seat? Because he's an idiot. No, you're not. And then it's like, well, like, why do you fall on the right? Grabbed his neck and then shot him, and then that's why it was just like the stuff that like us wouldn't know, but they're like, no, it's because he did this. And it's like, oh that makes sense.
And then I think this is also the most infuriating part of this whole case, which comes back a little later on in the movie, and we'll get to eventually. But when
I think I know what you're talking about.
The first bio of the shooter was a black male.
Yeah.
Which caused this guy to get away, which we'll probably get down later on the road. But it's just a good example of racist bias in the police department.
I don't understand, because, like, didn't they know at first it was a white guy they were looking for?
Well, I think it's just standard procedure back in the day, just say
African American man, and then...
Because you constantly hear Dave Chappelle joking about it. I think one of his jokes going, you hate bailing out your friends in the police department because as soon as you walk in the door, you fit a bio for at least 50 different cases.
Yeah, and it's horrible. Like, that's one thing. Like, the guy, the Zodiac Killer, as far as they say, the guy that fit the description perfectly walked right by the two cops.
Yep.
Because they were looking for the wrong person. They were looking for
a black male.
And even though he had blood on him, they didn't stop and question the guy.
He fit the description fully, but he was white.
What?
He had the crew cut.
The description, yeah.
Stocky,
crew cut with reddish brown hair, and 245 to 250 pounds. He was a hefty guy.
Dude.
And I think he was 5'9" or something.
Yeah, he was short, and then he walked by, and then this part, like, Mark was like, you know, was it Mark Ruffalo, or was it...
it was him questioning.
It was him? Okay. Yeah, when it was like, I thought, it's okay, it was him then. Who was like, did you see blood on him? And the cops were like it was like, they
didn't fit the bio.
Right? And it was just like, it's like, it was insane that he got away, and, you know, and, because even he was like, you know, it was a white male, how did you know? Oh, because we didn't know it wasn't fixed at the time. It's just like, it was crazy. Like,
also, fun part about this movie is the first two times you see the Zodiac, it is played by Richmond Arquette. This time, when you see the Zodiac in the back of the cab, it is played by Bob Stevenson.
Really?
So even the movie plays around with, who is the Zodiac Killer? Yeah. It's a different actor each time.
Yeah,
that's what I thought. That's what I thought, because I'll talk about that a little later once we get into the other scene, because I thought that too, because it aligns with the conspiracies or the thoughts with this. Like, there's a in these next couple scenes where they get the letter in, and it has the piece of the bloody shirt from Paul Stein. Then, you know, Totschke and Bill come in, and they're looking, and they're like, okay, has anybody not touched this letter in this newspaper? And I think that it's really commenting on how hard it was with having newspaper reporters trying to solve it. Well, it's like, no, there's an actual police case happening, guys. Like, when you get sent this, please do not touch it.
Yeah.
And like, it's insane, but there's an absolutely great setup and payoff line where Totschke, Ruffalo, wears this gun holster on the side, right? And Gyllenhaal comes by and he's like, whoa, that Totschke guy, he wears his gun the same way as Bullet with Steve McQueen. Later on in the movie, they go to Riverside, I want to say, Riverside, California, when Paul Avery says, oh, they think that they linked a case from 66. Yeah. So he goes there, and they get into like an argument. Ruffalo's like, you just fucking ruined this case. Like, I hope you know that this just threw us off for a whole other week.
Yeah.
And fucking
RDJ.
RDJ turns around and goes, hey, Bullet, are you going to solve this case or what? And I'm like, oh, fuck, a little callback to that line. And I'm like, God, with that freaking RDJ flair where he's like, I don't give a shit who you are, man. Like, are you going to do it or not, man?
Yeah.
But
fair enough.
He's great in this movie. Yeah. I wrote down in my notes just a clusterfuck for evidence.
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
Because then you get the scene where it's like, well, what happened here? Well, you got to call Vallejo. Okay, so they call Vallejo. Well, then you got to call this. And then you got to get this. And then I want to fax you something. We don't have fax yet. Okay, I'll mail you. Okay, I'll mail you back. Okay, this. And it's like phone call, and nothing.
Favor. It's like, hey, where's this? Oh, I didn't get my fingerprint things back from you guys. I'm holding this evidence.
Yeah, and it's
like, hey, fine, I'll be right there, back. And it's like, oh, yeah, it's just...
With all this going on back in the 70s, if the Zodiac was to still be active today, how do you think he would have operated?
Like in today's time?
Yeah.
I think if it's today's time, he would have been caught by now.
Yeah. But, like, would it still be mail? Would it be...
No, it'd be, honestly, social media.
I don't know. Because then they could trace him.
Yeah.
But I think it'd be different. The motivation would be different, right? Because when you look at the Zodiac, his whole motivation was to get noticed. Yeah. Because then you get told that he wanted people to wear buttons of the Zodiac and all this stuff. Like, if you look into it, it was all about notoriety. But you wouldn't, like, for a lot of today's generation, who's reading the newspaper?
That's the thing, right? That's what I think he would have done.
I think it'd be some dark web shit.
That's it. Like, yeah, it would have been some unhackable, untraceable. It pains from like Russia to like America, to Canada, to like the Asia, to back to Europe somewhere, to then whoever.
Yeah.
I think very well.
I think it would be hacked into iPhone or like Twitter news, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be my
guess.
Yeah,
he might somehow get into their
That's a good question.
Go into a fucking Zuckerberg's fucking goddamn system.
Hey, yo, fuck the Zuck.
Fuck the Zuck.
Because you'll also have this new form of web series where people like Marble Hornets, 70 Broad, stuff, Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared, where they create these long form stories about like corruption, about murder and stuff like that. Would it have played a similar part in that as a massive puzzle to fit together? Would he post like his victims saying, hey, this is Zodiac coming at you live, yada yada yada, come find me, bitch? Or like
I know that'd be kind of interesting.
Honestly,
like how would that work today?
Because also then you've got to think of the police side. It wouldn't be, they've got email, it wouldn't be fax. Mm-hmm. There would be so much more advances, even in the storing of documents. But they wouldn't have to go through boxes and boxes and boxes of different files.
Imagine being Robert Graysmith. Like, just working your ass off just to get into the Vallejo Police Department to look at files. It's like, oh, actually, dude, those files are on Google.
Yeah, just Google it.
Yeah, it's like, what the fuck, dude? Like... How pissed off are you if you were Robert Graysmith today? You're like, dude, you know how hard I worked for that? You know how many people I walked into their house and almost feel like I got axe murdered.
Oh, the one guy. Sure thought. 100%. He was somehow connected.
Same. First time I watched the movie, I thought that the guy looking at the background of this movie and like who Robert Grayson was, I thought he was going to get killed.
Right? Mm-hmm. Like I for sure thought, that's the Zodiac. That's 100% the Zodiac. Come in my car. Oh no, I got my car over there. Okay, so he's following me then. Okay, cool. Locks his door. It's like okay, whatever. Like, but then it's like asking these questions and it's like, oh, like. Is an who's his friend again? It was
Rick Marshall was his friend that they were saying. I don't know his name. Who the guy who
was it? Rick Marshall? Was he the weirdo?
Rick Marshall's buddy. It starts with a B, maybe.
Or was it Brian?
No, that guy.
B.
Maybe Bo.
No, it's a housekeeper. Bob Vaughn.
Bob Vaughn, I think his name was. He owned a movie house.
Yeah, this guy. Yeah, Bob Vaughn. So. Yeah, so...
Holy crap, for a second, when you pulled it up on IMDb, it showed Who Framed Roger Rabbit, and I was like, wait, Bob Vaughn was involved in Who Framed Roger Rabbit? What?
Maybe.
Oh, Bob. Get on the podcast, pal.
But yeah, like, I for sure thought... I for sure thought, he was connected to the Zodiac Killer, and then, like, how, he was just like, did you, like, did he ever give you, like, a tin of film that he told you not to open, and it was like, yeah, but then he came back like
72
or 71 or 72 to get it back, and it's like, oh, you never opened it? No. And it's like, and then it's like, oh, come to my basement and I have everything down there. And then how Mark Ruffalo was like, search in California for houses with basements, and
because there's not a lot there.
There's not a lot, right?
Yeah.
And I for sure thought, I'm like, oh, he's getting shot.
And then when you hear the steps and he looks up and it's like the frickin' Goonies, and you're like, oh my god, dude, there's somebody upstairs. Yeah. And then the teapot starts squealing. Yeah. It's like, get the fuck out of there, bro.
And then how it was like, what was his name again? Rick Marshall? The friend.
Yeah.
Right? Where it's like...
Rick Marshall,
right? Where he was just like... Where, Robert Grayson was just like... it said like, oh, like, he drew the... he made this poster. And he was like, no, he didn't. It's like... What do you mean I did that? It's like, oh. So now it's like, oh, now I get my mind going. It's like, oh, wait, so if Rick Marshall is a Zodiac Killer or connected somehow with a Zodiac Killer, did you do all the did he tell you, hey, these symbols mean this, put it in this order for me? So maybe did he do it not knowing?
Well, Rick Marshall, it ended up being proven that he wasn't the guy, unfortunately, but it was the closest, and Vaughn there, he wasn't tying it. I don't know for sure how that all goes, but I don't know, man.
It's crazy.
Like it's freaky. Like, right? I know when it's almost like you walked into Dracula's fucking castle, bro. It's like it's like almost him fighting the vampire.
Everything he did was like, it's like, oh, you can go upstairs and check if you want. It's like, oh, I'm just gonna go, okay, click with the light. It's like, oh my god.
Dude, that's my worst fear, with nobody in the basement. Yeah. As a kid, you shut the light off and you book it. You book it. I don't care if it's the main floor.
I still do that.
Yeah, me too.
I'm 25 years old, and when I'm back at home, I still do that. Because you know what? I don't know what it is.
Because you're scared of fucking Bob Vaughn.
Because it's like, I can be in the basement, like, as long as if I'm in the basement and it's dark, that's fine. I can do that. I can walk around, because I know my house layout. But the second it's like, I know I gotta get upstairs, and I'm like, clicking the light, it's like I'm stretching, click the light, and I'm like, I'm like halfway up the stairs, and I'm trying to click that. I'm trying to stretch my goddamn monkey arms out.
Have you ever done the gallop up the stairs where you use your arms too?
Yeah.
Oh, I still go up the stairs like that.
Where you like, it's almost like you're climbing a ladder too, and you're like, it's like, okay, not like we're not like horse guys, but like,
I still like.
Hey, we're not shaming anybody here.
No, man, I still do that. I'm 25 and I still do that.
Dude, I do that all the time,
and it's the best way. It's the quickest way to get upstairs. Then I don't know why. I just like a dog.
You know what's insane? You know what's insane about this? In 91, he gets identified. That's 8 years before I was born. That's 20...
It's 4 years before I was born.
29 years. 29 years ago.
Do you want to hear some... I'm just reading this on this website.
Yeah, sure.
So last time the website was updated, so I'm not taking credit, was updated.
Which website?
It's called biography.com, and then... Here, hold on before I say it, because this is messed up. So the website is the biography.com website, and then the article, just type in Zodiac Killer biography. We can put a link in the description probably too, because. So where was it? And it seems like these guys like do their research, and it says like if there's anything wrong, let us know, and we'll get rid of it, right?
For sure.
So this was last updated, this last December 20th, I think it said, or 14th of 2020. So case update. In 2020, after more than 50 years, amateur code breakers solved the Zodiac Killer cipher. I don't know which one. The coded message read, "I hope you were having lots of fun trying to catch me. That wasn't me on the TV show," which brings up a point about me. "I am not afraid of the gas chamber because it will send me to paradise, and the sooner because I now have enough slaves to work for me, where everybody else has nothing where they can paradise or they can never reach paradise. So they are afraid of death. I am not afraid because I know that my new life is life where it'd be easy. One in paradise, death. One in a paradise, death."
That's a pretty big thing. 50 years.
50 years. So, and this, I don't know when exactly it was. When did it say? When in 2020? But apparently, yeah, like 50 years later. I don't know what cipher, which one they decoded. If I don't know.
There was like 30 of them sent.
Yeah, cause I think it was as soon as
51 years old. Oh, sorry, go on.
As soon as Netflix put it on last year in like North America, there was a major boost in news articles about it. Like it just came back into circulation, which I think more people. That's how it got my attention, and I finally watched it. Again, with COVID happening, people could finally sit down and go, you know what, I'm bored. Let's try and tackle something like this and just see what's going on.
Honestly, right? So yeah, so here's some more about it from the New York Times. So it took 51 years to crack. One of the taunting messages written in code and attributed to the Zodiac Killer has been solved according to the FBI. The mysterious 340-character cipher was mailed to the San Francisco Chronicle in November 1969. Does not reveal the killer's identity, but it does build up the image as an attention-seeking killer who revealed in terrorizing the Bay Area in the late 60s. And then, like I said, I hope you were having... Is there more? Hold on. "I hope you're having lots of fun trying to catch me. I'm not afraid of the gas chambers." Are two of the dark boats in the message, according to David Orchak, a software developer in Virginia, who said he decrypted the cipher with help of Sam Blake, an applied mathematician in Melbourne, Australia, and Jarl van Eyck, a warehouse operator and computer programmer in Belgium.
So all smart dudes.
Yeah. Like Mr. Orchak, who runs a website and YouTube series about the Zodiac Killer cipher, said he was excited to have solved the code after 14 years of trying to break it. 14 years!
14
He tried
years.
breaking this thing and he finally broke it. But he said he was also worried about the effect it might have to the victims and families. The message in the cipher, I don't see it. So the message in the cipher, I don't see it being helpful to them. He said it's more of the same junk that the killer liked to write about. It's just intended to hurt people and make them afraid. So, yeah, like...
It's insane.
Like 14 years.
Should we try a video where we get his first cipher, which was fairly common to solve, with the same books that...
It's like Code Breakers. And
Yeah.
There's 3 books, right?
Code Breakers, the Zodiac symbol, like, book.
Yeah, it's like medieval time, but they had like during the medieval era, they had Zodiac alphabet.
Should we, like, one day just do a video where we each take it in turns and see if we can crack the first 3 ciphers sent out, like the combination, see if we can get the message, and just see how long it would actually take us if we were going to do those 3 books and the ciphers. Because
even Gyllenhaal in the movie breaks it down, because RDJ and him are at the bar after they drink those blue drinks, the blue, it starts with a V, what are they called? Blue...
Oh, blue.
I was going to write that down too.
Where are the drinks?
Honestly, it's Aqua Velva.
That's
That's what it's called.
Yeah,
It's got an umbrella on it and everything. And
Aqua
RDJ's
Velva.
like, this can't be ignored anymore. What the hell is that? Takes a swig. Smash cut to the...
That was so good, though.
They're hammered, but he runs him through how it gets solved, right? Like how
there was 2 L's.
2 L's, and then that means kill because that's the most common used word.
So,
and all that stuff.
We're going to get some Aqua Velvas.
And we're going to try and pray.
We're going to get drunk. We're going to podcast it, trying to solve it. I'm gonna get fed up. Google. I'm like, I did it, guys. And then,
Can't have Google.
Dude,
Can't have Google. You'll have to tap out.
yeah,
I get-
I'm gonna shit.
dude.
Take a shit and pretend. I know what happened. I'll go right back.
When I get drunk, I have a hard time finding out how to call. Like, I have a hard time punching in the cab phone number. Let alone these guys being absolutely shit faced, going like, "Yeah, if you do the 2 L's, then you find kill." I'm like, holy shit, dude! Like, what is it? How do I call the freaking pizza joint? Whoa!
And that is the end of part 1 of us talking about Zodiac. Join us next week for part 2. This has been Oliver.
Wyatt.
And Tucker.
Thanks for tuning in.
Thanks for watching our video. Click here to see more, and don't forget to click that subscribe button right there. And if we forgot anything, let us know in the comments. We're down below, and check our social media. Have a good one.